to kind of prelude, I think might be the right word. We got Bob coming on. Bob is basically the one that is in charge of all the sponsorships. You probably have seen him in many of the videos when it comes to disc golf. And we are happy that this actually worked out perfectly that you're up there, Yuli, because now we get both of you guys in here. But Bob, first off, welcome to Tour Life. Glad that you could join the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So it doesn't look like Discraft is slowing down anytime soon.
No.
You've got, probably the biggest move that we've seen in the, since I've been playing disc golf was the Paul McBeth move. Mm-hmm. And then from there, it seems like you guys basically have just one-upped or kept the train flowing and moving forward since then. This year, it kind of was more on the fence of, are they going to re-sign this person? There was a couple names maybe throwing out there, but no one really saw a partnership with King Climo. So let's just start there. Where did that start? Because he talks about you approaching him months and months and months ago. When was it brought up? Whose idea was it to maybe, hey, King Climo's out there, maybe we should talk to him?
Yeah. It was at chess.com last year. I was out in Florida for a month, getting ready for the elite team announcement and the tournament. So basically, I had Mike Barnett, get me his number, and I just called him and asked if he wanted to go to dinner. And I had an idea that I wanted to pitch to him. And
so you came up with this idea at that tournament?
No, I had the idea before that. Just missing Ken, to be honest.
Gotcha.
When I grew up, Ken was, the GOAT of our generation. So, not having him around and hearing things about him and just all the accolades that he had not being thrown in your face was kind of shocking to me. So just saw it as a resource that wasn't being used for the sport and in a good way, and it should have been out there. I think, the Climo thing's good for everybody in disc golf. I don't think it's a Discraft thing or us against Innova thing, nothing like that. I think Ken being present is really good for the future of the sport, for pros, and he's a hero of disc golf. So I was ecstatic to be able to work with him, and I love the idea of it. So it's not really an idea, Brody. I think it's just an obvious thing that maybe people look at it now and think someone else should have did it or something. I don't know, but
yeah, I think the key thing here is the whoever it is, other than the player, they need and want to be involved, because we see in other sports where some people stick around, Peyton Manning, for example. He's someone that has stuck around in football, and he's been present in the media and doing things like that. And then there's other guys where they retire and you don't really hear from them anymore, right? They're living their life. They're done. And I think the key thing here was when we had him on the show months ago, you could tell that he wanted to do more. You could tell that he wanted to be more involved. And I guess he just didn't feel like he had the avenue to do that. So was that one of the big things in talking with him is, hey, we can help facilitate? Because I think that's a big question is he going to be more involved in the sport, or is he just going to be selling discs?
No, he's going to be involved. I mean, there's talks of him and Simon. Well, hopefully I'm not spoiling anything. Hopefully no one gets mad at me. But him and Simon doing a video together. I think the opportunity of him doing YouTube videos with the modern day player, doing a video with you or Yuli, that stuff's just exciting and fun to watch. And you get little, snippets of gold, from a fan standpoint that you can't be scripted, can't be forced out into the market. So Discraft does not want to gatekeep Ken Climo brand or who he is. So working with all sorts of different players, tournaments, things that Discraft might not be involved with, and that's fine. That wasn't the goal to, this isn't like a get rich scheme or make billions of dollars doing this. This is to bring back a legend, and there's a purpose, and he has his own identity, and he can do the things he wants to do. He wanted to come to the Northeast Expo and was more than willing to jump on a plane and make that happen. That's the kind of stuff I want to see as a fan.
What about your perspective as far as like DGA being a part of Discraft? I saw that was a question that a lot of people online were asking. Like, okay, so what's the difference between like DGA and Ken Climo's brand? Like, what would be an easy answer for them for that?
Discraft is part owner in Climo's brand because obviously we own the molds and things like that with him. So it's a partnership between us two. We just make this for DGA and we have a personal relationship with them, but we don't own any part of the DGA company.
So DGA is more of
Licensing.
yeah, they're not necessarily like under your umbrella where, because like the easiest way that I try to explain it to like non-disc golfers is it's kind of like cars where you've got the big name car company and then you have all the other car companies that when you think about it, like you might not know they're actually owned and made by that company. Is that kind of what Climo Disc is?
Think about this. I mean, you drive a Mazda, right?
Yeah.
Your first car that you ever owned.
Maserati, yeah.
Little tidbit. Ford has helped with Mazda in the past and helped build parts and helped with distribution and things like that, but it's not owned by Ford to where Ford and Lincoln or Mercury,
Yes.
you know, there's other relationships. There's different levels to it. I would think of like similar to ThoughtSpace. We just announced that deal with them.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that. What is that one?
Sure, we're leasing them a mold, and we changed some parts around on a mold that we're not using anymore and modified it to their liking, and it gives us an opportunity to reuse a mold and make new pieces for it and lease that out to them and helps them be able to grow and do things, you know, for disc golf. I think the biggest thing people need to think about is disc golf still a niche sport that's small, so we need to be able to work together and help grow new avenues and new ideas and build new competition. So when I think of us working with DGA, ThoughtSpace is like-minded. Aaron Wilmot over there is a buddy of mine. We kind of just started becoming friends since we've had the first conversation about potentially doing this, and we're like-minded. It's just building a network to be able to sponsor new players and sponsor events that, you know, isn't just 2 or 3 companies holding everything together in the sport and holding people back from growing. So our philosophy is to work with the Climo brand, work with DGA, work with ThoughtSpace. We want to keep things moving and growing, and yeah, we're excited about it.
So with ThoughtSpace, was there any talks about being like exclusive of like what's the reasoning for being okay with, you know, making a disc and having ThoughtSpace sell it, but then also ThoughtSpace having, I believe it's MVP also makes some of their discs as well. What are your thoughts on why is Discraft okay with having, joining ThoughtSpace and having them also push and sell other manufacturers' discs?
Yeah, I think ThoughtSpace has a unique space in disc golf. They have a really edgy vibe to them. They have cool artwork. I don't think it competes with Discraft or MVP in the same sense. They do their own thing. They have their own setup. So to me, I mean, we had no problem that they work with MVP. I think it's kind of cool that, you know, Discraft, MVP, and ThoughtSpace are working together on bringing new product out to people. And
would there be a company that you would have an issue with? So if it was someone other than, would there be a company where you're like, that might not work for us if it wasn't MVP?
You mean if ThoughtSpace was working with a different company?
Correct. Yeah. Like Latitude, Dynamic, Innova, Discmania. So no company would there be an issue with you guys working with them?
No, we wanted to work with Aaron and ThoughtSpace. So that's its own brand. No matter where the discs are made, that's not like ThoughtSpace isn't MVP. It's not Discraft. It's Aaron and his employees, and you know, their subjects.
So do you see then a trend moving in that direction with players? So you guys basically are making discs for ThoughtSpace. ThoughtSpace is also getting other manufacturers to make them discs. Could you foresee that happening to players where you have all the putters for a certain player, and then the player has all their drivers from another company? What would be the difference if you're not okay with that? What would be the difference between those two scenarios?
Yeah, I mean I think the biggest thing is like we're a manufacturing facility, so we have machines, we have employees, molds. Filling machine time is not a bad thing in any way. So the more, the longer our machines are running, the more our employees are getting overtime. Like when we announced the Climo stuff, I mean, people work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like it's blowing up over here. People are playing music back there and having a good time and just loving life right now. So to me, it's two different things: marketing and the machine side of it, where you're trying to fill machine time and keep everything going. And we had molds that were just sitting there that we can use. It's just us dipping our toes into it. I know that MVP has like an OEM program, and they work with a lot of different companies. We specifically liked Aaron's vision and the artwork that they have to offer, and we felt like it's a different enough category that it wasn't stepping on anybody's toes, and we could coexist in this market.
So let's say that there's, I think what Brody's getting at, let's say that there's just another player, and this player's like, hey, I really like Discraft, I really like MVP, I really like Innova. I'm going to be sponsored by Innova's drivers, MVP's mid-range, and your guys' putters.
Yeah.
Is that something that could happen, or is that kind of crossing the line of like, okay.
We wouldn't do it. I mean, we invest in a decent amount of money into our team, so we would want them throwing Discraft.
Right.
We allow them to throw DGA if it's absolutely necessary to fill a gap, but typically we would try to adjust for that gap.
What about this disc with Thought Space? Same thing?
We're not going to be allowing players to throw that right away. This is a new venture for us, so we just want to see how it pans out and works. The tricky part could be monitoring that. If Thought Space has a specific look, it'd be hard to know if that was an MVP mold or a Discraft mold, and we wouldn't want to muddy up those waters with that. So.
Yeah, because I guess you guys kind of view, which makes completely sense, right? As a manufacturing company, you don't necessarily want to be a well, it depends on what your business model is, but a lot of manufacturing companies they want to make the disc, put them on pallets and push them out to other people, and then those people kind of sell them. So if you're viewing Thought Space as like a Dick's Sporting Goods or as a local mom and pop sporting shop, you're able to make a bunch of discs for them, push it to them, and then they can sell it. So I guess a question of mine too, and we're starting to see it a little bit, is if you guys aren't willing to kind of do like, hey, we'll let you just throw putters, then someone else says we'll pay for your drivers, then are you afraid of players maybe shifting to more of getting sponsored by Thought Space, getting sponsored by Infinite, getting sponsored by these big stores that have a bunch of discs?
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think it's good for the sport. Like what Drew did with Infinite and things like that. I think that's fine. For us, we treat the players well. We pay well. We do a lot of things for our team. So we're not in fear of that. It's no different than if Innova just wanted to steal all our players. I mean, we would still try to get the players we really want to work with and do whatever we could to convince them that this is the right place for them. But I don't think mixed bag is a huge leverage over going to a manufacturer that's established and can afford the contract and take care of the player the proper way.
Yeah, I don't foresee there ever being a time where a company could legitimately pay, like a Thought Space or an Infinite could pay more money than a manufacturer could. Like I don't foresee them having more.
Well, Discmania was a good example of
a bigger budget.
I mean, Discmania had Simon and Eagle, and what UC was able to do as a secondary company that had discs made by Innova was very impressive.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, if Innova wanted to, they could pay more for Simon and Eagle to throw Innova, but they just didn't want to.
Sure.
That's my point. It's like in a bidding war, Discraft's always going to beat Thought Space.
Not necessarily. I mean,
you don't think so?
No, not necessarily. There's times where players have come to Discraft for less money than someone else is offering because they want opportunities. And
yeah. I was saying just solely of like, if you said
who has a budget? Yeah.
If I think we're saying different things. I'm saying the Discraft money to be able to spend is always going to be bigger than the mixed bag companies, because you guys are literally giving them the disc to sell.
Yeah, but what if someone like Gannon was like, I want to go to a mixed bag company, I can get
For sure.
a bunch of molds, and I'm going to make $100,000 less than I would with Discraft, but I think I could make $300,000 in the big picture with all my opportunities, growing a small brand. So
I was just saying, in a bidding war, you guys are always going to win because you have a bigger wallet. That was my point.
Yeah,
you might not always utilize that and say that at a certain point you might be like, oh, we're cutting off, and they end up going with that person. But
that's a tough question for me, Brody, because we don't lead with the wallet.
Yeah,
I think that's a common misconception. People think we're just throwing around money. Discraft isn't like, oh, we'll give you $500,000 to come here. That's not our approach. Our approach is, this is how we treat players. This is why we think you're a good fit for Discraft. This is what we really like about you, and we think it would fit into our master plan. We talk about that. I mean, even when we first got Paul, we didn't talk about money for 2 weeks. We never even mentioned money at all. It was the vision of the plan and the line and how we'd go to market and all those things. So strikes me a little different when people say that about money, because it's not like, there's times where Innova's probably offered us more money than we did to a player, but we still landed that contract because it was a good fit for both us and the player.
Yeah, no.
So I do think Thought Space, I see what Prodigy's doing. I think it's brilliant with putting Will as the CEO and them having an opportunity to rebrand and refresh. I think they could get a player that maybe wouldn't get as much, would get more at Innova or Discraft, but a certain player wants to be able to grow with that company and hopefully reap some benefits on the other end.
Yeah, we also see too, I mean, you guys posted your team the other day, and it's, a crazy list. I mean, you take, you throw 5 darts at the dartboard and take 5 names off that list, and it's going to be competitive with a lot of manufacturer teams. So I think there's also that, as well as, clearly there's people that want to be on Discraft's team, but then there also might be some people being like, hey, listen, I might want to just go here and be the big guy.
Sure.
Right. Versus having to kind of compete with all these other big dogs. Let's talk a little bit about the sponsoring of players, though, because we have seen a huge shift, it seems like, after the COVID, where everyone was getting signed, everyone was announcing these big contracts. We've started to see a little bit more of a shift from a lot of different companies, not re-signing players, or players getting less money and all this stuff. But we haven't really seen that too much from Discraft. You guys have still been very aggressive going out and getting players, re-signing players. So what is the strategy there?
Well, there's a strategy, and then there's like a reason why it's possible and things like that. But the strategy is that every great sport in history that's grown has been through athletes. I mean, superstars sell sports. We've seen it with Tiger Woods when, his career was at all-time high, how big golf was, and then the lull when he was gone, and it took a while for people to fill that gap. You see it with football, hockey's, there's tennis. Caitlin Clark right now is a perfect example in the WNBA. A lot of people bashed the WNBA and said there's never going to grow, and now it's like you find yourself watching highlights and being like, let's go, So in a sport, athletes push and get new sponsors, and they bring new people in. If Monster Energy wanted to come into the sport, it's not going to be because Innova or Discraft make a cool disc. It's going to be because Paul Macbeth won a world title, or Ulibarri had an awesome ace and it caught their attention. So the players are the lifeline to growth, I believe. There's obviously other things, getting kids into it, but kids follow in their idols' footsteps.
So do you see like the way that Innova's kind of been handling their contracts? Do you view that as like a mistake?
Yeah, definitely.
Letting go some of these players?
Yeah, I mean, you can't count them out forever. They might change their ways. It's not, it might not be in the cards right now. They might have felt burnt, or like players aren't valuable. I don't know what their game plan is. I think, if I'm being honest, Jonathan Poole's probably the best resource at Innova, and I think they should listen to him and use him for more things, because that's someone I've always looked up to. And, the team that we've created now was through the eyes of what Jonathan Poole created back in the 90s and the early 2000s, mid 2000s. So I don't know. They're kind of the ones that created the hype team and all that, and they're not pushing it. So it's shocking to me a little bit, but they're a big company. So
do you think, because obviously there is some form of cannibalization. We've talked about this a little bit. At a certain point in time, we don't have the viewers, the consumers, the customers that some of the other big sports have, right? And so at a certain point in time, someone is going to have to make the decision. Am I going to buy this AB Venom? Am I going to buy this Paul Macbeth Luna? Or am I going to buy this Paige Pierce Passion? I only have money to buy one. What am I going to buy, right? And so there is a little bit of cannibalization. If let's say you signed another 20 players, at a certain point in time, the return of investment has to dip, right? And so I've always thought that was kind of what Innova was doing right now, is they have decided these are the people that we're going to invest in. These are the people that we're going to pay, and we're going to write it out with them. Do you guys have a number like that in mind of, like, is it kind of like a draft in the NFL where you have a big board and you're like, all right, these are our big boys. And then these are the guys that are our glue players. And then, if you lose a glue guy, now we got to find a replacement. Like, is there like a number of, or like hypothetical, if Isaac Robbins said, hey, I would have signed with you guys, and Ricky would have said, hey, I'll sign with you guys, and Big Germ says, like, are you just taking all of them if you can get them, like Pokemon, got to catch them all? Or how's it work?
I mean, every player that was available hit us up, and we didn't take them, obviously. So, I mean, we're not taking just anyone. It's when they fit the team. I mean, we have 12 elite team spots, 8 men, 4 women. And then we have the tour team, which is stacked with people that could potentially take those elite team spots. The way we've structured it is to have competition within. I mean, people don't want to lose their spot, and they want to push to that next level. So sometimes digging deep down inside and making that big putt that you need to finish in 3rd instead of 12th because you gave up. There's motivation within our team to compete with one another. So I don't think we have that big of a team. It's just really stacked. I think we have around 50 something players, 60 players. I mean, it's a little over that when you count like lifetime members and the Icon team. They're people that are, family basically, and pretty much, Discraft, like in their blood. So, that's a little different, but competitive team. I mean, we're probably only talking like 40 something players and maybe 25, 30 of them tour. So it's not that we have a huge team. I mean, there was one point last year, I believe, that Innova had like 400 plus players.
Yeah, well, we're just talking more about touring guys.
Sure,
like 25 is a decent amount in comparison to some other teams.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I feel like about Discraft is it kind of goes without saying, most of the top level pros want to come here and play on our team. That's the way that it is. And the players on the team might have an opportunity to go somewhere and make more money, but they don't want to. It's like Steph Curry giving up money to stay at the place and try to win a championship because he's marketed well, and he gives up salary caps to get more players. You know what I mean? There's got to be some
short-term versus long-term.
100%. And I think one of the best things about Discraft is the ceiling is so dang high, and people see that. Like, they see Macbeth and the Paige Pierce and all these players being successful. AB, for example, was on Innova for a long time, didn't tour necessarily a lot, came to our team, and now all of a sudden last year he became one of the biggest superstars, and possibly one of the biggest superstars our game's ever seen. And with that, what's his ceiling? It's really, there is none here.
Yeah.
He can make as much money as he possibly wants, and I think that's what Discraft brings to the table, and that's why people want to come here, is because of course it's a good fit when everybody's happy and everybody's kind of helping each other, and it's a fun place to be.
Sure. Yeah. We're giving resources to the players to be able to grow to the full potential. Not every player is going to be Paul Macbeth or Paige Pierce or Anthony Barella, but
if they do,
they have the opportunities to have that. And one thing I'll say about Team Discraft is it is the most competitive team just with internally. I mean, you've been to team parties where we're, fighting over King Kong, and, ping pong is going wild. So it's super competitive in a fun, productive way that's healthy. And
yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that, because that was something that I thought was always fascinating was the different teams on the, because again, it's a sponsorship thing. I think, do these things happen in other sports? I think so, but they're probably not talked about or mentioned to the public, right? But this is something that is like very common across pretty much every manufacturer in disc golf. So what is the importance in disc golf to have these teams? Well, what is the reasoning to make them public, I should say? Why do we need to know that this person's on the icon team? Or why do we need to know that this person's on the tour team or the elite team? What is the reasoning behind that?
Well, I think titles and competition inspire people. So having a team where there's different levels, it gives you goals to shoot for. Like, I know you worked hard and made the elite team, and that had to have felt good when you did that. And you came out of nowhere and jumped up to 1030 rated player and made the elite team. So you know that that's exciting to have.
Well, I'm saying more, sorry, let me rephrase. I'm saying more for the perspective of like the consumer.
Oh, the team up?
Because for me, obviously as a pro, yeah, 100% having goals and certain things for me to hit.
Yeah.
But like one of the things that we very rarely ever hear about in the NFL until like week 17 is like when they're like, this guy needs 2 catches to get a $5 million bonus.
Sure.
Like there's certain things like you don't really hear about, but in disc golf, what team you're on is talked about all the time. Mm-hmm. So what's the reasoning for that for the consumer? Why do they need to know that Yuli's on the icon team and not just sponsored by Discraft?
Yeah. I don't know. That's a tough question. I think the thing that's good about the team is it's, from a marketing standpoint, from a company's view, is people that get along and can work together, like having you and Ezra and Aaron doing videos together. There's a lot of, your resources can go a lot further. I think sometimes with like Paul Macbeth, for instance, on the team, you might get Ezra Robinson, who's going to bring the pressure and bring the best out of Paul. So there's a marketing move there, but that's also a byproduct of making Paul a better player because he's feeling like, oh, I need to step it up and I need to make the move. There's a lot of different aspects of a team. It doesn't mean we're all trying to get the same score or anything, but fighting for a spot on the team, pecking order, working with a fellow player, that's amazing. If Paul wins Worlds next year, you guys are all going to make more money. I mean, I have stats to prove
I
that.
guess.
Let me real quick. Because
Okay.
I think I know what you're getting at, and I think it is actually in all sports. Like there's a big difference between somebody sitting on the bench who's in the NBA and somebody starting.
Yeah,
like
I was just going to make that point. Yeah.
Yeah, there are levels to it as far as that. There's all pro, and then there's people below it. There's the top. You go over to fantasy.
Right.
The top receivers, they're all on the same team, but there's also you have your number 1 receiver, you have your number 2 receiver, and you have your 3. You have your starting running back, you have your backup running back. Like there's levels to every single team, and of course, within the team, there's going to be competition. That guy goes down, next guy comes up. That's just the way that it works.
But we don't discuss. I think in this, I kind of want to hear your thoughts too on me and Yuli's baby, which is our manufacturer cup and changing the way professional disc golf is played.
Sure.
What Yuli just said is 100% true, right? There's depth charts. We look at the depth charts, we see where people stand, but that's a team trying to hit a certain goal.
Sure.
Right. And everyone knows that, hey, if we all play well together and go out and win, that's good for everyone, right? Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen though in sponsorships, right? So like if you have 4 golfers that are all sponsored by Gatorade, there isn't a depth chart.
Yeah, I think there is. I think there is. There's levels to it, to the amount they get paid, and people know that. And
there's people on the same team, like on NFL teams, basketball teams that have.
I think when they're sponsored by like a Callaway or Nike, there's definitely levels to what.
But that's not discussed to the public, though, is what I'm saying. When someone signs to Callaway, they just sign to Callaway. They don't sign to Callaway's Team A. Or team B. Like I don't even know any of that stuff. I need to actually reach out to some of my guys to even know if that's even. The only thing I know with golf is like some people have a 1 club sponsorship where it's like a putter. Some people have like a 10 club sponsorship. Some people have a 13 club sponsorship. That's how golf works as far as levels. And obviously, if you have a 13 club, you're going to get paid way more than a 1 club, right? But there isn't a, hey, this guy sells way more than anyone else, or this guy's a top 10 player, so he's on this team or whatever. And I think when your argument with with football, the reason why that doesn't work is because like what we're really talking about is like the sponsorships. So we're talking about someone in the NFL can be sponsored by Lexus, while also someone else in the NFL could also be sponsored by BMW.
Sure.
And they both are on the same team, but they're sponsored by competing brands. Where
that.
It's like NASCAR though, right? I mean, there's Fords, there's Chevys, there's different sponsors, but there's NASCAR teams and people that have similar goals and share resources and things like that to better themselves. I think what you're missing probably from the team aspect is what disc golf was like 15 years ago.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And now, like literally being able to shove 6 guys in an RV was a
have to travel, all that stuff. Yeah.
That's where a lot of the team stuff came from. And it's having each other's backs when they're down or when times are tough. There's obviously financial gain if you're associated with a certain player and things like that. There's a lot of different aspects of it, but you're kind of comparing a sports team to a manufacturing sponsorship, which I get both sides of that.
Tough to compare.
But think about like Nike and Jordan brand and like Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, like the pecking order and the level of that. And there's internal competition within that. Sure, we're not a traditional sport, but the team aspect of a manufacturer who, to be honest, most manufacturers are funding the tournaments, the coverage, and all those things. There needs to be money coming back to those manufacturers that are putting resources into the sport, or else it won't keep happening. So, being associated with Paul Macbeth early on when you started your career was hugely beneficial for Discraft, Paul, and you. And that had nothing to do with even your level of play yet. But you did play better because you wanted to beat Paul. You told me many times you wanted to beat Paul. So you wanted to play harder and go for that. But it was still all in love and fun and having each other's backs and having respect. So,
yeah. And this is where I think, and I would love to hear what you think on this. I think we should just go all in, because right now, to people coming into disc golf, it doesn't make sense. Right? Like if you drop someone into disc golf and try to explain the dynamic of disc golf, it doesn't actually really make sense. So what we have right now is we do have a fan base that obviously, yes, follows players. We see people that Big Jerb, for example, he left Innova. He's at MVP. He's going to have a huge fan base that's going to go there, but he's also going to have a bunch of MVP people that probably never bought any of his Innova stuff, but they're now going to buy his stuff because now he's on MVP. Yeah. Same thing with Ezra Robinson. He's coming from Prodigy to Discraft. You're probably going to have a bunch of people that love throwing the buzz, the passion, the vault, whatever he ends up throwing, right? And they're probably going to buy it. And they didn't buy any of his stuff at Prodigy. So you have all this built-in fan base already in the manufacturers. You already call them Team Discraft, Team Prodigy, all this stuff. So then why don't we just go all in? Why don't we actually make it a team sport? Why don't we actually make it to where I'm hoping, not because Yuli's a friend of mine, but because we're on the same team, that Yuli plays well?
We can do that internally with Discraft if you want. I'm
just saying, as a sport, wouldn't that make it more exciting?
I think it would be hard because not every company is as stacked as we are. That wouldn't be fun for a lot of teams.
Well, I mean, you can make it competitive. There's different things you can do. But I guess what's outside of that? Let's say like there's a salary cap and all this stuff. Outside of that, why wouldn't Discraft want to be on board with that?
We would. Yeah, we would definitely want to be. I mean, a manufacturer's cup or something like that would be awesome. And it would be fun. I mean, some people would say, oh, well, Discraft stacked. Of course they'd want to do it. But on this other side of it, I'd be nervous. Like if we lose, to an underdog, that's a bad look too. So, it adds the excitement of like watching a sports team try to compete on that level. But I think you do get a lot of that on the individual side too. I mean, people are wanting to see, a lot of people wanted to see James Conrad throw that shot in on Paul, and they were ecstatic about that. I wasn't, obviously. It was good. It was good for disc golf, but it sucked for Discraft and Paul and, everybody we're associated with. It was a bummer, but you could still have that fanfare as an individual sport or a team sport. I mean, I don't think there's any reason we shouldn't have more doubles or team challenges or head-to-head stuff like that.
I see some people saying that, in chat, they love the team idea. They don't love the team idea. Like one person basically said, I don't like the team sport. At the end of a tournament, they announce, and the winner is Team Discraft. That's not how it would work, right? Sure. You would still have an individual winner. It'd be probably what we've talked about. It's very similar to
like what Live does.
It's similar to like college golf, similar to like cross country. How that works is you still have someone that wins the race in cross country.
Sure, Live literally does this, I think.
Yeah, Live does it already for golf. And my only reason for saying this, and the only reason I've ever said this, is because so much of disc golf already treats it like F1. So much of it treats it like, hey, you're coming on this team. We're all in this together. We're all trying. Where at the end of the day, a lot of people, even in the NFL, I've talked to plenty of people in the NFL that even though they're on a team and they get bonuses for making it to the playoffs and they get bonuses to making it, there are tons of people in the NFL that would rather catch 10 balls, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, and lose the game versus one catch for 7 yards and they win. Right? So there's so many people that are still that care so much about the individual side. And it's like, it seems like in disc golf, there's such a push on like trying to make it a team. I just don't understand why we don't go all in on it.
Yeah, I don't know that we'd have to go all in. We can have both. They could coexist, it sounds like.
Or try it a little bit.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool if like the Pro Tour or the PDGA wanted to set up some sort of bracket or doubles event, 4-player event, something like that. That would be really exciting.
So, because you also talked about how important like the pros are to growing a sport.
Absolutely.
Obviously, there's grassroots stuff that you can do. You guys do a lot of stuff. I've done a lot of events with you where I've gone to events, done player signings, all that stuff. I think that's all great.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, like the professional league is the thing that really is going to showcase those players. Right now, we're currently have a professional league that's behind a paywall. And we are currently in a professional league that the views, quite frankly, aren't there. Right? So how important is that to maybe, hey, what we're doing right now, maybe it's not working. Maybe we should change it up. Like how involved are the manufacturers with the professional league?
I mean, we're really involved as far as like supporting it. And obviously we have a lot of big Discraft events on tour. We always supported the Pro Tour from the beginning. PDGA, we support them. We don't control their schedule or what they're putting out there. We offer advice and things we'd like to see. I mean, I've told Jeff Spring this a few times, but I'd love to see something on ESPN where it's just a skills competition with disc golf, where it's the best players throwing bombs and
crazy shots,
watching a player make 60 putts in a row from 30 feet. Like those kind of things, I feel like would draw a lot of outside eyes, because there's tons of people that don't watch NBA, but they'll watch slam dunk competition. And if you saw Bareilles throwing 760 feet in the field, you'd be like, what is disc golf? Or what? I don't know. I'd love to go out on a field and just throw a disc to see what I could do. I think disc golf, the way it's been now, where we just throw it on CBS and things like that, it's not followed very easily. So
yeah,
people that don't already play are kind of like,
I think they also put one on during Sunday football, like NFL football, which is no one's watching that except for like actual disc golfers, which it doesn't make any sense to target. Like you're trying to target new audience. Yeah.
Yeah, we do need to think outside the box if we want to target new audiences. I think that's going to take some level of the sport being able to work together, manufacturers being able to group up and put something like that out. I mean, something clean and polished on ESPN that if your mom walked in the living room and said, "Who's this Anthony Varela guy that just throwing this disc so far?" You get people talking about it and trying it themselves. That's what people get hooked as soon as they throw a disc. I mean, it's wild how quick someone will get hooked, even when they don't. They're not that type of person typically. They might not think it's very cool, but.
Last thing I'm going to say.
Yeah.
On the team thing.
Sure.
What brings more eyes to the table right now? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gannon Burr versus Calvin Heimberg, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Those two playing in a tournament, going toe-to-toe. Or Discmania versus Innova. Which one do you think more people would tune in and watch?
Discmania versus Innova. Like the whole team, you're saying?
So, like, I just told you, hey, right now we've got Gannon going toe-to-toe against Calvin. And then there's another show where I'm saying, hey, right now we got Innova taking on Discmania. Which one do you think the majority, which one would gain more audience?
Outside audience or people that currently disc golf?
Just in general, just straight up in general.
I don't know that one would be more than the other, to be honest. I'm not 100% sure.
Really?
It's a new concept to me. So, I mean,
yeah.
Honestly, like Innova.
Funny because a lot of people are saying like players, but Yuli, how many times?
If it was Innova versus Discraft, you'd get more people watching that.
I just threw out two randoms. I didn't want to do anything, but I mean, obviously Paul versus Ricky, there's a lot of things, but it is funny though in chat, because I think it's one of those things where people think they know what they want, but Yuli, how many times do we come on here and people talk about how boring a tournament was?
Mm-hmm.
Gannon versus Eagle, Gannon versus whoever. And they're just like, that was so boring. Where teams, there's so much more involved in. That's all I'm saying is there's more storylines when you have a team than when you don't have it. That's all I'm saying. Why are boy bands?
Things happen in sports too to make it more watchable. Like Ricky versus Paul is obviously going to be a way more viewed scenario because of their past, because of them going and having these epic battles over the years. And then you have lulls to where, like in the middle, even like let's say the NBA or something, like the Celtics versus the Bulls. It was Larry Bird, and then the LA, it was Magic Johnson. Like back then, everybody was hyped about those rivalries. And then maybe in the middle, you didn't have those superstars that like really didn't like each other, or that was the perception outside to the fan. And we don't have that a lot in disc golf. We don't have those things.
We do though. We do with the manufacturers. That's the thing that and that's the thing I'm trying to put there. And
it's tough to put a personality to a manufacturer in an individual.
But they do. They have, yes. And that's what I'm saying is why don't we, it seems like we have it all online, but it's an individual sport, right? Like when I show up to any activity and someone's all dressed in Reebok, I don't look at them and be like, Reebok? Ugh. People do that in disc golf. You bust out.
People do that in basketball and stuff, though. If you rolled up in some Reeboks and everybody's wearing Jordans and stuff like that, people would be like, "What are you wearing? Are those Sean Kemp's from 1990? What are those?"
Not nearly as much, though. Not nearly as much. I know you're the sneaker guy. I get it.
Yeah, I'm a sneakerhead, so that hits me a little different for sure.
And I know for a fact there are people that go crazy about that as well.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, generally speaking, when it comes to like the sponsorship, what equipment you're using or what you're wearing in other sports, people don't really care all that often what others are doing. Mm-hmm. And in disc golf, there are people that are like, I will never throw Innova.
There's a status to it, though. If someone's sponsored by Jordan Brand, that's a huge milestone, and there's so much that goes into that someone would be like, wow, they're sponsored by like. I'm talking
more like casuals, though, is what I'm saying. Is like if I show up to a pickup basketball game, majority of people are not looking at what shoes people are wearing.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
In disc golf, if you show up to a local league or whatever and you bust out a disc, some people are like, you throw that? Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying. The brand loyalty in disc golf is there. You have people that literally like, I will never throw that company's disc. I only throw this. And I'm saying that doesn't exist in a lot of people in other sports, they buy what's the cheapest or they buy something that's on sale. There obviously is brand loyalty for some, but I'm just saying in disc golf, it has it like I haven't seen in, I've played a lot of other sports. It's crazy in disc golf. And I don't understand why You're
still talking about a small market in disc golf though, too. That's the diehards. That's probably like 30% of the sport now. Majority of disc golfers are probably going to Dick's or Holden's Party Store and picking up a disc that just looks cool or feels good to them.
Until they go to their leagues and people are saying, why are you throwing that crap? Don't throw that, throw this.
Yeah, that's the progression of anything. If you're into music, if you're into...
Not in basketball, though. When I was playing pickup basketball, no one ever was like, why are you wearing those Nikes? You got to come over here and wear these Adidas, bro.
I was playing a pickup game recently, and somebody noticed my Steph's on, and they're like, "Man, those are."
Come on, that does say something. If you roll up in a nice pair of Jordan 1s or something, or
you have a broken jump shot.
Yeah, drop around because they're not really made for basketball. Yeah.
All I'm saying is like the brand loyalty that exists, because obviously it does exist.
So there's something. There's something there.
Hold on, that's a problem in America, though. Like, people play PlayStation and people make fun of me for that because they play Xbox.
Yeah.
iPhone versus Samsung. That's just marketing and branding.
It's just competition.
And what the
but then why don't we play into that? That's where I think
we're all saying it's a good idea, and
let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, sweet. I'm on board. Hey, all you have to do is get like every manufacturer to throw in like $50K to a tournament, and winner takes all. And you take your best 3 players and you do a format where it's like best shot. Then you do a format where it's alt shot. And then you do a singles format. And then you like come up with points and all that stuff. And whoever wins at the end wins. Whoever wins the individual wins. Like, just do one and let's just see it. Let's just see what happens. I think people will love it.
Yeah, we could do that.
Just get everyone on board for $50K.
Spend that elsewhere, but something different. But yeah.
Okay. So next question I have, this kind of goes back to like the signing of players and stuff.
Sure.
Is there a certain like totem pole of like importance? Like, was AB at the top of the list of like, hey, we're not even listening to Ezra Robinson. We're not even worried about Brody. We're not even worried about all these people. Let's get this AB thing done. And then from there, we can see how much cash we have left. And then we can, is there something like that of where there is a totem pole of importance?
No, I think the only time that would come into play for us is if you had 2 players that were similar. Like if we were going to get Gannon or AB and there was 2 players potentially, you might say AB is a better fit for us. Let's try to get him, but Gannon would be great to work with, and I'm not saying that's the case, but just in general, that's how I would look at that, is where they stack up in the team. Are they a marketing asset? Are they a player, playing asset? There is different levels to it. Also, you don't want to get a player that overlaps too hard because then you start getting the diminishing ROI. But we have a very diverse team. I mean, Dickerson's got his, different country vibe to him. AB's doing his thing. Ezra Robinson's like the young blood coming up.
Let's talk about Ezra. What gap did he fill that was kind of missing, I guess?
He's pushing the top. He's going to push the top guys and try to take their spots. And he's going to want to become the face of Discraft, I believe. He's got the skill set to do it. He's got an awesome personality. There's a lot of flair to him. He was the first player that I wanted to go after this offseason. He was, the Climo thing was working in the background. I don't see that as him coming to Discraft or anything.
Correct.
The Ezra Robinson thing that's the player that seems like a really good fit for Discraft and the vibe that we have going on with the team. He'll work well with Ezra Aderhold. I already see like a spark going with them. There's a lot of opportunities for cross promotion. He was just the one we wanted to go after. And I'll be honest, we didn't go after Isaac. We didn't even talk to Isaac.
What's the thought process behind that?
He just didn't feel like a good fit for our brand, and we felt he could have done better somewhere else. Ezra's just got this little like flair to him and this pizzazz to him, and we felt like we could really market that. And you saw the Peach Pirate logo that came out. I mean, that kind of he's got this secret persona where he's kind of like this mythical pirate, character from what's that? Pirates of the Caribbean. So, that's fun. It's exciting. There's a little more excitement to him.
So we had a few weeks ago, we had Will Sheastrick come on. We talked about him a little bit with Prodigy. Sure. He was mentioning how like it was very important for, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it did seem like he was kind of talking about how the importance of selling discs, a lot of that was like on the players to create content, to do all this stuff. And I've always said, something that I think could be really positive for a lot of these companies and something that you guys do pretty well is the company is the one that's paying for your licensing. They're basically paying to be able to use your face, use you. And if they don't know how to do that properly, that's on them. Sure. So what are your thoughts on that? Like where do you stand on it? Also, are there certain players that you feel like they need to do more for Discraft to make the next step? Because me and Yuli were talking about it a little bit. It's not all about playing, right? It's simply not about how well you are, how good you are. It's also the personality, content, all that stuff. So where do you stand on all that?
Yeah, I mean, there's I mean, I guess you asked a couple questions there, but there's a place for someone like Andrew Presnell. He's our workhorse. We know he's gonna probably win a big tournament, and there's a spot for him. Is he selling discs like you, Brody? Where you're out there and you're talking about stuff and putting yourself out there? No, I mean he's not, but he also grinds and wins tournaments, and there's a huge value to that. So, you just give him a contract that fits accordingly and what you'll get back out of that. And if players don't like what you offer them, they can go somewhere else. So it's not like we're like forced to pay these players this money. So everybody gets a different deal depending on what they bring to the table with Discraft. So I don't know if all companies do that. I've heard of some companies getting like everyone on this team gets this amount a month and that's it. I don't think that works necessarily. You have to treat everything individually. But what was the other part to that question then?
What's the importance on social media and them doing their own thing compared to you guys doing everything? Will
was kind of pushing like people should be doing like what I'm doing, right? And I kind of pushed back by saying, no, there's a lot of people that like suck on camera. There's a lot of people that would be terrible on a podcast. There's a lot of people that they're really good at disc golf. That's what they should kind of lean into.
Absolutely.
Because we are living in a kind of a weird world right now, right? Where when I first came on, very few people had YouTube channels. Very few people were posting Instagram content, not just a picture of, hey, this disc is coming out. And now we look at it, almost every pro's got a YouTube channel, tons of Instagram posts. Like the content has shifted the game completely, which is a good thing. More stuff out there for sure.
Yeah.
But where are your thoughts on that? If a new player came up, are you telling them like, hey, you need to make a YouTube channel, you need to be making content, or are you more saying, hey, just keep getting really good at disc golf?
No, we interview the player and we see what their strengths and weaknesses are, and we carve out a path of where we think the most growth for them would be on the company and where they can make the most money, honestly. So there's some players where I would say they probably don't need a YouTube channel. They need to try to get on Brody's YouTube channel or get on Ezra's YouTube channel, and that's a fun aspect to seeing what someone could do, because Luke Taylor's an up-and-coming pro that probably will be one of the best disc golfers in the future.
Very good.
And he's just learning all these things and learning who himself is. So someone like him, the recommendation is try to link up with Brody and do a comparison video or a practice round. Get your personality out there a little bit and, see how comfortable you are and if it's natural for you or not. But there's no expectation of like, Presnell, you better start doing all these videos or else we're cutting you and we're not getting our ROI. Yeah. But we didn't pick up Presnell to be that player.
I mean, there's also basic things that just are obvious that you need to do. Like you have a promotional video that we make, like you should probably share that thing and put the effort that like clicking a couple buttons really isn't that much effort. And I think that's just like, the basic stuff that you should do, like keep your social media stuff up so that you're updating your fans on how you're doing, what you're doing, you're placing in the tournaments. And those are things that we do expect, I feel like, for all of our players to do. But as far as going above and beyond having a podcast and having a YouTube channel,
trying to make content and stuff that way. Yeah, I agree with you because we don't have, if you're not on league card, you're pretty much not talked about. It's the way it is. So you do need to start making posts out there to let people know how your tournaments are and hopefully get people engaged. But I don't know. I wouldn't really say like I have a good personality. I think the reason why I'm successful on social media is because I don't care what other people say.
Yeah.
So I don't think it necessarily, I mean, obviously personality, sure, whatever. But I think with other people, that's a hard thing to learn. And so that's why I never really advise people to go in the social media world unless you're going into it because you have a passion and you have something that you want to say and you don't care what others say. Because there's no spot on social media anymore that you can just have a nice spot where everyone's going to give you flowers and say you're awesome, no matter what you do. And so some people can handle that and some people can't. And so I think the one thing that I'm really pushing for is we need more people watching disc golf professional, because when more people watch, because right now, let's be honest, a lot of people are pissed off at me. I come into the sport, you guys give me a really nice contract, and they're saying, I've been playing disc golf for 10 years. What the heck? And here's the thing. The amount of money I made should have been pennies compared to what everyone else was making. But the problem in disc golf right now is no one watches the pros. So winning a tournament, I can make more money going out and filming a YouTube video than winning a disc golf pro tour tournament. And so the only way of that changing is more people have to watch though the pros. Yeah. And then that way the emphasis would be more on playing. And then all the other stuff is if you get a Simon Lizotte that's really good and has great content, that's a bonus.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a little bit of an outlier, though. You had celebrity status coming into the sport. I mean, people knew you from Ultimate, and you did a lot of commercials. I mean, trick shots, things like that. You were really big on YouTube, so you had a little bit of an upper hand. I would say there's a happy medium there where I think players should dabble in those things to see if they have what it takes, because I'm sure you didn't just start out being like, yes, I'm a social media guy and I'm really good at this. It built up over time, and you had confidence, and you learned what worked and didn't. And
and if I would have sucked, if I never would have played well, it would have faded real quick.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think I always kind of describe you as like the squeaky clean villain. For some reason, people villainize you, but you're actually really nice. You don't cuss at people. I've never heard you say a swear word in my life. You're very polite to people when it comes to like.
Well, we don't need we don't.
You don't want people to know that about me.
No, I'm just saying we don't need to talk about it. My point is just being like, I think right now where disc golf is right now, it is backwards, because there are people like Luke Taylor, for example. Luke Taylor should be making a crap ton of money. And I don't know what his contract is with you and whatnot, but I'm assuming he's probably not one of the top 20, 30 contracts in disc golf. I think that's safe to say, when in fact, he's one of the top 20 players. And so I just think right now it's backwards, where I want all the money or most of the money to be based off of how good people are. And they can, like, you could be the worst person in the world. You could flick off everyone after you win tournaments because you don't care, because you're making millions of dollars winning tournaments. The problem right now is that's backwards. You make more money off the course than you do on the course. I think there's maybe only a handful of people that are making more money on the course if they actually have a good contract. Obviously, there's certain people that don't have contracts. That doesn't count. Does that make sense? Do you see what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. I don't agree, because I've been a lifelong disc golfer and I love the sport. I love the grassroots vibe to disc golf. I don't think we have to be the NFL. I don't think we have to be, PGA or anything like that. Sure, if we're comparing ourselves to, an NFL team or, Callaway or Titleist or something, sure, I could see those theories. But the manufacturers are funding the sport to keep events going and keep production happening. And
it's not you guys are paying way too much, first off.
Sure.
I'm not, you guys are overpaying like a mofo on a lot of things. I'm talking simply this is where I think disc golf is at its biggest crossroad. You got to figure out a way to get more people to watch professional disc golf. because then you get sponsors outside of disc golf. You can't keep having Discraft pay the bills for all this stuff. Heck, you watch a disc golf pro tournament. How many Discraft commercials do we get? 15. It's not because you guys are paying for 15 commercials. It's because they don't have any other commercials to show.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes that's almost, we don't want them to play that.
No, it's just seeing the same person. Heck, everyone knew it was a nuke during that one year with Yuli. I mean, he said it 1,000 times. During
He did too. Yeah.
I'm going with the nuke.
I'm fine with it. Say that over and over and over.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing that's interesting, Brody, is it sounds like do you have the analytics for the Pro Tour, like the amount of views and subscribers and things like that?
I did a few years ago. I don't recently, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go on YouTube and see how many people are watching when it's free on YouTube. And then also, I do think they have posted sometimes. The numbers aren't good, Bob. They're not good.
Yeah.
And this is the problem is like, I might be anti-paywall.
Mm-hmm.
I might be anti-paywall. I think paywall might be short-term. I think anti-paywall is long-term.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe not. And the question too is like, I guess goes back to the team thing. Like, do we even have a product?
We do have anti-paywall. It's called Joe Miss.
Yeah. I think
they get better views. and you still get the diehards who have
But where's that money going? That's not going
to the tournaments and the league.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's making money running tournaments. I'll just be honest with you.
No, I know, and that's bad too.
Lidstone's, moving tons of stuff, and it goes back into the sport. But I think the thing it's hard because where I'm coming from, there wasn't no coverage of tournaments. So when I get to watch a tournament every Saturday and Sunday, I love it. So I understand that the narratives, like things are negative and things are down. I mean,
they're as good as they've ever been.
15
Not necessarily down. It's just, are there things that could be done differently to
get better?
Put emphasis on getting more people to watch disc golf?
Yes.
Because there gets to a time, like I'm with Bob. Like from when I started, there was no camera. You get on coverage twice a year.
Nothing.
And then you know what I mean? There was like VSH tapes that you would like. What was it?
Well, I mean, even like MV or
what was
Steve
his
Dodge's,
name? Well, like whatever it was, like that's all you could watch. Mm-hmm. And so for me to now see it, now I'm a commentator to where hundreds of thousands of people listen to me talk about the sport. Like it's come to a spot that I never thought it could be. But I also have kind of an entrepreneur mindset to where I agree with you, Brody. Once you get to a spot, you have to take the next step to keep growing. You can't just be like, oh, no, this is as good as it's ever been. We're fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That should never be the thought process. And it does feel like sometimes we stall out over the last couple of years and it hasn't gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And to me, that's when I do believe like, yes, something needs to be done. There needs to be a next step to keep the growth going. We've done so well to get here. There's no reason to be like, all right, comfortable spot.
Yeah. And so my question right now, okay, this is ultimately my question. Is disc golf like jump roping? There's jump roping competitions out there. I'm sure there's a world championship jump roping competition, but we all know no matter what jump roping does, it's never going to get bigger, right? It's not going to get this. It's not going to have it's jump roping. Are we jump roping?
No.
Or are we bowling?
Right now we're bowling, but I have dreams.
Bowling's much bigger though than us. Is what I'm saying is like,
yeah,
bowling,
we're trending towards bowling, right?
So you think right now there are issues at play that aren't allowing disc golf to get more views?
Well, what about this? What about this comparison? What about like skateboarding? Skateboarding is everywhere. It is very popular. Nobody's ever not seen a skateboard in their life.
Okay.
How many events are on TV of skateboarding?
Skateboarding's massive though.
I know, but how many
professional? I'm not even talking about that, Yuli. I'm talking about simply. All I'm talking about is the purses. That's all I'm talking about.
Oh, purses.
Skateboarding purses are.
That's how we're on views still.
Views and purses, like they go hand in hand. The more money a purse is, it's based simply off of how many eyeballs are watching it.
Right, but what I'm saying is, do you think that more people have seen
Skateboarding than disc golf? Yes.
No, not skateboarding. I want to compare it to a bigger sport like NFL. Like it's probably just as popular. You've seen a skateboard, you've seen a football.
Oh, you're saying just
the NFL is crazy popular.
Yes.
They make billions of dollars,
it's a more attractive sport. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. That's my whole thing is that was my question, Julio, is basically, are we a sport that's actually attractive and we're just not doing the right things to get people to see it? Or are we just simply jump roping, where at the end of the day, a very small amount of people are going to enjoy it and watch it? That's my question, is like, are there things in place right now that we need to break down the barriers to get through? Or are we jump roping?
No, I mean, we're growing, obviously. I mean, I think it's tough.
Just hit 300,000 at the PGA.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we want
that. That's a terrible number system, though.
I mean, but it gives you a little. Dude, I'm
not all those people are active.
It doesn't matter. I'm number 27,000, and I started in 2006. So 20 years, 300,000. That's.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Like our growth is crazy fast compared. Yes. Like it's not like we're doing this gradual growth.
What if 40 years from now the number's 600,000?
I mean, judging by the statistics, we're growing way faster than that. So our growth period from last year, the year before it's not like doing this. We're still shooting up.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't have to disc golf. It's fun and it's awesome.
Yeah. Good exercise. I'm trying to figure out, like, is disc golf? My only question was, like, is disc golf is there something that's untapped potential in disc golf that we're not capitalizing on? Or do we just, because like if I went into jump roping right now, I wouldn't be having a conversation like, guys, we got to get jump roping more entertaining. We got to get more people out there watching jump.
Yeah.
I know where we're at. There's only so much you can do. You see what I'm saying? And my question is that disc golf?
It's an Olympic sport. I mean,
is it actually Olympic sport? Yeah. Jump roping?
I saw it last year, I think.
It's been crazy growth the last 7 to 10 years. I mean, I remember in like 2017 or 18 going to the course in March when the snow was melting in Michigan, and there was like 20 or so new players that were carrying grip bags. And I was like, what is going on? That's
awesome to see.
This is wild. Like everybody was carrying backpacks 2 years ago. And then we moved up to the Revolution bags. And, you knew when someone was a tournament player or a league player just by the bag that they had. Yeah. So I remember there was a turning point where I was like, this guy started 3 months ago and bought $400 worth of discs and a $200, $300 bag. And the progression is getting there. I think what happened was we got COVID. Everybody was expecting this crazy thing to keep happening, but a lot of that was from boredom or people not going to the office, their kids not being able to go to school. Little extra money. So, yeah, we can't base it all on that. Things are still way bigger than 2019. So we are trending in a good direction. I don't like that the narrative is like pros aren't worth much. The pro tour's shrinking. It's like, to the craziest boom that anyone has ever seen in outdoor sports.
It's still growing, but it hasn't dropped below what it was before COVID.
Well, it was probably like this, Brody. And then COVID, and now it's like here, which is still really awesome.
Still really good. Yeah, I guess ultimately a better question of mine is, do we view disc golf, maybe jump roping wasn't the right word or right sport. It's more like, do we view it as, let's say, cornhole? There's going to be a lot of people that really love and enjoy playing cornhole.
Sure.
Right? If me and you, Bob, were out in the back and you're like, hey, I've got a cornhole, you want to play real quick? 100%. But then as soon as we got done playing cornhole, if we went inside and you go, hey, the cornhole championships are on, do you want to watch it? I'd be like, no.
I think,
are we like it's really fun to play, but people aren't just they're not as interested to watch it?
My personal opinion is we're never going to be I don't want to say that. I hope we are, but I don't think personally we'll be as big as like the PGA Tour or one of the main big.
Oh, sure.
I don't believe that, but I'll give an example of like I know.
I would say that.
You snowboarding, for example.
Yeah.
I don't watch snowboarding.
But
I don't just turn it on. And I've snowboarded before. I love it.
Mhm.
But I don't go actively looking for a snowboard competition. But guess what? When the Olympics come on, I watch snowboarding. It's one of my favorite things.
Mhm.
I think that eventually, hopefully, no, listen, let me finish.
Team sport. USA.
Yeah.
USA. You're watching the Olympics because
X Games. I'll watch that too. Okay.
Shaun White.
fair enough.
Like Shaun White, exactly. My point is, I do believe that the World Championships could be something that is a big time thing.
I like that.
You get what I mean? To where once a year, once a year, twice a year, there's the two big tournaments, and people go and anybody who disc golfs watches that. I think we could get to that level.
Agreed. Yeah. I can see that.
Any thoughts of putting the World Championship as the final event, Bob?
I'm so
Like
used to
But we are going that route of where this is the one event that everyone's tuning into. Wouldn't you want to have that be the end of the season? Or is it like golf where it doesn't matter because the biggest golf event that's tuned in by everyone is the Masters, and that is actually coming on here in a few months?
That's how I've always kind of viewed it. I think if you get 300,000 people watching Worlds, it doesn't really matter when it is if all those people want to watch that, to where
I guess most of those people
goes down to 30,000 or something crazy. Like, you're only going to care about the one event, then it doesn't really, it's relevant when it is.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I get what you're saying, though. It is always weird that there's not like this Super Bowl-esque.
I think it's weird for the diehards that are
try to get it, and that's why I say have the point system and whatever structure to where if you tour and you're on the pro tour and you get the most points and you're the most consistent player throughout the world, you're then awarded the world champion. And then you have your, FedEx Cup at the end, which is a big tournament where everybody compete and blah, 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 blah.
But to go back to all of our points, though, it comes down to outside sponsors, companies with real money. Discraft and Innova don't have Microsoft money. We don't have Red Bull money.
Yeah.
You guys touched on something, skateboarding. That got popularized because of Tony Hawk, and it got commercialized, and that's what grew it. So I still go back to my core values of I love superstars. Athletes grow every sport that they're involved with in history.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was baseball players that used to be carpenters in the early 1900s. It's slow beginnings, but it does get to that point. So I still believe athletes are the
top athletes.
Yes.
And I think we've seen that a little bit. Even Macbeth and Ricky, what they did for the sport and bringing that competition, there's no denying that Macbeth had a big impact on being a superstar and bringing more people in and more fans and becoming diehards. And if we keep that growth, and let's say there's this 10-year-old kid out there watching this right now just being like, man, I want to be that guy. Superstars are born.
When I first talked to Ezra Robinson and we agreed that he was going to be on the team, he kept telling me how crazy it was that he was on the team with certain players that he looked up to. And that's exciting. That's encouraging for me. And that tells me that we're doing the right thing, motivating the next generation. There's so many kids that try to mimic Paul Macbeth's throw, which is so cool. And I think that's the way we need to keep continuing, is pushing our top athletes.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too of getting people is why I think it might be better to have a little bit more coverage if possible. I've always been a huge fan of we need more standalone cameras.
Yes.
Cameras that you don't have to walk around, because Paul Macbeth, we just talked about him, when he was at that dominant stretch and winning, he did bring a whole lot of people in. And then what's going to happen too is a lot of people are going to stick around and want to watch him, right? Same thing with me watching Tiger. It didn't matter if Tiger was 2 over par and fighting to be in the cut.
We all watch.
He still was on feature. He was still on like the featured broadcast that you could watch just him. And so that's one thing where I think could be definitely useful. There are certain players where, let's just be honest, they're not interesting to watch. They don't have big fan bases. So when they're winning tournaments or whatever, people aren't really excited to tune in. But if there was a way to see more shots of the big name guys, regardless of whether they're in first, second, third, or fourth, I think that would help. I think that would help a lot. And I don't know why they don't do it. I don't know why they don't have a camera sitting out on a couple holes and filming some of the biggest name players coming through in the morning. And now you have all that footage that you can play throughout the round. Like Jomez is after the tournament is already over and people are tuning and watching that. Why aren't you're going to tell me people aren't going to want to watch what happened earlier in the day? It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we get all these drone shots during coverage of you can't see anything. And and they're cutting to, the people in the booth talking and we're not seeing shots. It doesn't to me, I think there needs to be a massive overhaul of how the coverage works. I think there needs to be a massive overhaul of the paywall system and all of that. Because at the end of the day, hand up, I know more than anyone, people pay, outside sponsors pay for eyeballs.
Yes.
That's what they pay for. They don't pay for anything else. They pay for eyeballs. And if you come to a sponsor, and I've said this at the beginning, if you come to a sponsor and you say, hey, we got 25,000 people watching this event, do you want to sponsor it? No. It's not even worth the emails to have to figure it out. It's not even worth the amount of time it's going to take me to plug in, transfer the money to you.
Right.
Now, if I come to someone and say, hey, we're going to have 200,000 people watch this event, do you want to do? Oh, wait. Okay.
Yeah.
Julio just said we had 300,000 people paying money to the PDGA at some point in their life.
Yeah.
So that's where it's just, you got to find ways to get people to watch. And people are only going to, is anyone else overwhelmed with the amount of streaming platforms that there are now?
Yeah, I don't use any of them. Hulu or any of that stuff.
Hulu, Netflix, Apple TV, Amazon's got it. There's so much content out there.
Right.
Why are people going to watch disc golf? We got to answer that question. Why? Sure. And I don't know that's not a Discraft question. That's just more of a big picture thing, right?
Yeah, I think the Pro Tour is going through some growing pains, and but I also think turning our back on the Pro Tour isn't going to help grow the sport either. We need to offer constructive criticism and help, and we should reward and support things when someone's, a company's doing something that we enjoy or we like, to keep pushing that narrative, though. That's what we want. Consumers have value with spending in every aspect of life. So, even with us, if they stopped wanting to buy player discs and didn't want to support what we were doing, we'd change our business plan. We'd have to. Yeah. But if you support Discraft and know that X amount of money of the disc you buy is probably going right back into the sport, it makes you more excited to, be a part of that. And it's the same thing with Pro Tour. If we're willing to pay more for subscriptions or help out in the grassroots side of things, because they're not going to be the NFL overnight. We've made such leaps and bounds, but I think sometimes the expectation's way too unrealistic for where the growth can be. And then we kind of turn on ourselves and start this infighting and being annoyed with each other. And it's of course we want it. That's sports, but we're still small enough to where we should sit back once in a while and be thankful for how good things really are. And that's hard to do sometimes. I get that.
Yeah. All right, let's ask one more question here. Yuli, if you have any questions after this, please jump in. And then Bob, if there's anything else that you wanted to add. I think people are loving this interview, by the way, just to get a little behind the scenes. It's something that people talk about. Another reason why we should go into the teams is people are talking about what sponsors, players are moving, like they're talking about free agency in basketball and football. But I thought this was a really good question. Someone sent this one in. Discmania has the tilt. Innova has the Rolo. MVP has the glitch. Does Discraft have a unique disc, or have you ever considered it?
The zone was unique until everybody copied it. And that's no shade to anyone. That happens.
It's 100% true, though. Being on tour, there's so many times people come up. I think mostly everyone has something now.
Yeah.
But when I was first on tour, it was so funny. So many people would come up and that would be the first thing they say.
Yeah.
Dude, I wish I had a zone.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The Zone OS is very unique. The Rattler, the Putt-R. I mean, we have molds that are discontinued that are more unique than anything's out there. The Banger GT is probably one of the most unique discs out there. That's really a popular seller. I don't think people would realize how many of those we actually sell.
Did you honestly think I was going to throw the Rattler?
Did I? I thought you would like the Putt-R more.
Okay.
More. But no, the Rattler.
So many people thought I was going to throw the Rattler. They're like, you're going to love the Rattler.
There's a cult following for it, for sure. There's definitely a cult following for it. But yeah, I mean, a truly unique disc only lasts for so long. I think there's companies that have copied the Berg at this point. You know, you got to keep reinvigorating the market and changing things and reinventing the wheel. So yeah, we have, I mean, the Buzzsaw was really unique and exciting. Full foil was something that no one does, where we have, you know, the full foil baked into the disc. And I think Gateway did start some sort of full foil process that was really cool. So I don't want to take credit from them. But yeah, I mean, that's the market. We're constantly competing and trying to set the bar higher, and competition's a fun thing. Grows the sport on the manufacturer side too.
Yeah, I think one thing that disc golf does really well.
Oh, I do have a unique disc, actually.
Oh my God.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, this has never been
Perfect timing.
Yeah, perfect
This
timing.
is exclusive. Hold on.
Also, I didn't know about this, so that was a perfect segue. Let me just pat myself on the back there.
Yeah, good segue.
Is this allowed to be put out there yet?
Yeah, it is.
Ooh.
It's the new run of the cap wrap coming out February.
Are we calling that it's kind of like a swirl, but it's not. It's like it reminds me of nuclear waste, that sign that has like the.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
What are we calling that?
This is actually just a throwback. So in 2020, we had one of our most popular plastics that we did the tour series in, which was just the Z Swirl. And a lot of people love the plastic, and the cap wrap never got a chance to be made in that. And so decided to bring it back this year.
Wow.
Yeah, we did some tweaks. We did some tweaks with the stamp, obviously. Excuse me. And then a little different from 2020. I think that those were a little stiffer, and these ones have a little give. So I think it's a really good in between from the Z. Then we went straight ESP, and those were really stiff. And then we went the complete opposite direction with the Jawbreaker Flex. And now, 2020 look with a new feel. And you can see these are kind of what people like, which is that flat.
Great forehand disc.
Great forehand, overstable.
Yeah.
So we were here filming for our release soon.
Sick.
So
Pre-orders coming out soon. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that about disc golf, because I think, there's the one aspect where, like you just talked about, you went through a bunch of different plastics. You can actually grab and feel it and feel different, right? Yeah. And so some people like the gummy, some people like the stiff. Also, certain plastics, it'll change how the disc flies a little bit. I don't understand that, but it does. But the one thing that I think is cool with disc golf, it does have a little bit that like feel good, play good, right? Mm-hmm. If you get that new disc in your bag, if you get that sweet stamp in your bag, it gives a little more confidence.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so there is some of that in disc golf that I think is really cool side of it. It's not all about, just like you were talking about, it's not all about, hey, how do we keep making the disc better and better? Obviously you're doing that, but also like, how do we make disc look cooler? How do we get disc to where it might go to a certain, stand out to a certain person? And I think you guys do really a good job at that.
Yeah. I mean, that 2020 became like crazy collector's market, as far as even the regular Raptor was my favorite run ever, and now you can find them on like the collector market. They're hard to come by.
Yeah, they're pretty expensive too, secondhand.
Exactly. So I think they did a great job of recreating that plastic, because it is hard to go back and be like, okay, yeah, we got it. Once you have that run, it's gone typically. And plastics change, the heating process is different, the mold changes, it wears down, like things become a little different, and they nailed this exactly kind of what we wanted. So I'm really excited about it. It's by far my favorite run that they've done so far. And I really like the original Z, but I like these better.
Yeah, these will be hot. Good
Pre-orders. When? Date yet or no?
Mid-February, the pre-orders are going to go out to retailers, and then they'll be able to, because it's a once-a-year release, so we try to see what the demand is and try to meet as much of the demand as we can, and then they go out and disperse. So yeah, it'll be mid-February. They'll be on pre-order, and then they'll probably ship a couple weeks after that to retailers.
Yeah, we'll have some announcement videos that we filmed this week and stuff. That's the reason that I'm out here. So
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything else?
I don't. I'm good.
Was there anything else, Yuli?
For me, or?
I do have a nice question for you that I'm fascinated with. So
Hit him with it.
Bob's story is he started in the back stamping, right? And fulfilling orders.
Yep.
How does somebody go from that to then
Great question.
being the manager of where you are, and not only like making Discraft bigger, the team better, but like pushing the sport in the direction that you've pushed it, because your fingerprints are now all over disc golf in the decision-making process that you've done, and coming from a shipper straight up to a company. Like, did you always have that entrepreneur kind of mindset, or did it just come over time of learning and different things like that?
I was 23. I was a sales manager driving a brand new Escalade, chasing money, working for a large electronics store. Was really worried about deadlines and numbers and the sales side of things. And really, I guess a little backstory. My mom had me when she was 15, so I always valued hard work and knew that I was, going to be in a hole if I didn't do anything, and I would be able to, grow and become better if I put everything I had into any job I had. So I chased money first in my life to try to, create opportunities for my family. And the collapse during like the 07, 08 market, everything just went in the toilet. So I was at Jim Kenner's private course. He had a really nice 40-acre private course, and he said he needed a shipper. So I said, I'm not going to chase money this time in my life, because I see how easy that can be taken away from you and how unvaluable money actually really is at the end of the day. So I started at Discraft, and I loved disc golf. I mean, my dad ran a league forever. We built a little tiny 9-hole course on my parents' property, their farm. My brother plays, my sister, everybody. They're all my friends. So it was a dream to be able to work somewhere, but then the reality of the business side came in, and I was making $11 an hour driving an Escalade. So I didn't really prove my worth, and I think it was just a passion for me. I loved disc golf and just kept helping and moving my way up, and was willing to do whatever it took to help grow the business. And I think I'm a little more aggressive. Jim and Mike are very kind and passive people. They would never talk about their product in a positive way. Honestly, they're very passive. So it was nice having someone like me that loved what we were putting out and was able to speak about it and feel good about it.
Wow.
Worked my way up. Yeah.
We try to be pretty unbiased here, right? Obviously, me and Yuli, both Discraft sponsored players. We try to be pretty unbiased. We bring other players that are sponsored by other companies on. We bring, other people that are involved with other companies. This is our first time actually bringing anyone that has worked with Discraft, and probably one of the people that is probably making as many moves as we've seen. And I gotta just tell you, like, there is a reason why Discraft is becoming the standard in disc golf. Whether you want to admit it or not, there is. Many pros, like Yuli has mentioned, would rather play on Discraft at a fraction of the sponsorship they have with their others. They might tell you otherwise, but that just factually isn't true. They are the ones that are definitely pushing the sport in a very positive direction. And we have seen other companies do the same. Heck, Bob, how many teams do how many manufacturers are making player jerseys? You remember when we first started talking about that?
Yeah.
No one was doing jerseys.
No, not at all.
Everyone. You remember Yuli, when we first had this podcast, and I was telling people, like, why are we wearing polos, guys? We're not golfing. We're not golfing. What are we doing? Everyone's like, Brody, you're an idiot. This is crazy. What's going on now? Everyone's wearing jerseys.
Yes.
And that really started with Discraft, really. I mean, I'm sure there was other companies, but you guys really were the ones that made it popular. Now everyone's got jerseys, multiple jerseys, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So we're seeing other companies looking at what Discraft is doing and following suit. Obviously, other companies are doing great moves as well.
Yeah.
But I do just want to say some nice words because again, I try to stay as unbiased as possible on the pod.
Sure.
The way Discraft treats their players is unmatched. Now, I don't have a crazy track record with other teams because ultimately Discraft really hasn't allowed me to have in a way of where it's like there's no reason for me to try to go out and see what else is happening out there.
Sure.
And so that I just big props on you guys, the way that you handle the team, handle your players. It's bar none. It really is. So I don't know, just a big thanks, I guess, first off to coming on here too. We asked you some tough questions.
Sure.
You definitely could have kind of BS some of the answers and not answered them.
I'll never do that.
I think you did a great job kind of giving the answers to the people. Hopefully everyone listening enjoyed it. And we'll have to bring you back on again. Maybe you guys will make another crazy move that no one sees coming. And we'll have to bring you on once again. But do you have anything for the people, I guess? Anything that you want to let people know about Discraft or yourself before you head out?
No, I guess just appreciate everybody that's supporting us and what we're doing, and just know that we're working really hard, and we have a ton of fun with, you know, where the market is and what disc golf is, and we're going to keep elevating things. And the more you support us, the more we're going to put back into the sport. I guess one thing I would say is, you know, Jim Kenner started this company in 1979 out of his trunk, and you know, we've ran as a debt-free company since then. So we've been able to make smart moves and reinvest in ourselves. And I think Kenner, he loves disc golf still, and he's, you know, in his 70s, and he's very involved with players, and he watches disc golf. He watches podcasts. He's really made these opportunities open for me to be able to make some of these moves. So it's not all me. I know sometimes I'm the one in the public eye and I get the credit for it, but we have an amazing team here, and it really starts with Jim Kenner, you know, saying that he doesn't need more money and he's willing to put things back into the sport and not just put it in his bank account. So I really appreciate working for a company like that.
And shout out to the Ultra Star. We don't talk about it often.
Baby.
We don't talk about it often on here. If anyone tells you otherwise, they're lying to you. Ultra Star is the best ultimate Frisbee disc. I would never use anything else. Even if I somehow was sponsored by another company down the line, the Ultra Star, bar none, best ultimate Frisbee disc. So there you have it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Bob. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Julio, you want to stick around for a little bit? We have a few more things to talk about.
See you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.